ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति। Three things we discussed in the previous one: emotional disturbance, emotional slavery, and emotional dependency. In the context of Ragadvesha, we discussed these three things. What is the what are these? What are these three? Emotional disturbance, emotional slavery, emotional dependency. You encounter life with Ragadvesha. When you encounter life with Ragadvesha, you always face two situations. Situations that is favorable to you, a situation that is not favorable to you. Life goes on creating situations. Your Ragadvesha makes it favorable or unfavorable. Again, life goes on. Life goes on creating situations. Number one. Number two, when life goes on creating situations, it doesn't consult you. It doesn't ask for your it doesn't ask for your preferences. It will not say, is it okay to do it now? It doesn't ask him. If it start asking our permission, what will happen? So situations keep happening. When these situations keeps happening, something is favorable to you, something is not favorable to you. When situations are not favorable to you, what happens is you start having disturbances. That is the first level. When situations don't happen according to your raga dvesha, you start having you start having disturbances. Where do we have a choice? Do we have a choice on the situation, or do we have a choice on not further aggravating the emotional dependency? If you further aggravate the emotional dependency, it becomes emotional slavery. Instead of quickly understanding and dismissing the emotional disturbance, what does the human being do? You keep on retaining that emotional disturbance in your mind. By you keeping that emotional disturbances in your mind constantly, you become a you become a become a slave to that. You become a slave to that. So as long as you have raga dvesha, disturbances will happen. But what you can do is to avoid the you can avoid the slavery. What is slavery? Refusing to keep it in your mind. But invariably, what happens? We keep the emotional disturbances in the mind, and we constantly keep reliving it. We constantly keep lingering it. We constantly keep reliving it. We constantly keep talking about it. We think about it. We talk about it. So in a way, we don't get out of it. So you actually intensify the disturbance. So intensifying the emotional disturbance and making it into emotional slavery is your making. Your making. Once you become a slave, what happens? Once you become a slave, dependency creates a slavery. Now, once you are a slave, you feel as though you have no choice at all. You intensify it, you magnify it in your head so much. Having magnified it so much in your head, you will be so convinced that there is no way out of this slavery. Are you able to follow? Again, the sequence. Okay. Again, I repeat the sequence. Life goes on creating situations. Life goes on creating situations. And situations don't consult. Situations don't consult you. Situations don't bother about you. It keeps happening. A specific individual doesn't matter at all. Howsoever great or howsoever less, a specific individual doesn't matter at all. So what happens? It keeps creating situations, and these situations will not be conforming to your raga dvesha. When it is not conforming to your raga and dvesha, what happens? You get emotional. There is an emotional disturbance. The moment you get disturbed, what you should do? We don't do that. Whenever you get emotionally disturbed, what you should do? You should know, you should learn to ignore. You should learn to ignore and move. But all our training says you should not ignore, you should pay attention, you should pay attention, you should pay attention. All your training is about what? Unless you pay attention, you cannot resolve it. You cannot solve it. Therefore, what you need to do? Pay attention. Pay attention. Or engine problem, you have to pay attention. There you cannot ignore. When it comes to the mind, you only have to ignore. If you do not know how to ignore, if you don't have the intellectual capacity to ignore, what happens? Your thoughts keep circling around it all the time. All your thoughts will be circling around the disturbance only. So from that emotional disturbance, you develop a kind of, what happens to you now? That's what I said. 3 words I used interchangeably. I keep using these 3 words. I'm not sticking to the 3 words. What it means is this. First level is there is an affectation. Instead of ignoring it, why are you not able to ignore it? Why are you not able to ignore it? It haunts you. You are raga dvesha, want to be there. Correct. You can't ignore because you are the most important person in life, only to you. Who is the most important person in life? Ram Subramanian. To you. So everybody is the most important person to themselves. Therefore, what happens? They can never get out of themselves. Yeah. If only you can put one person in front. Oh God, you are free forever. If only you can put one person in front, you can't, because that's the very training that we have been doing to ourselves all along. Not knowing, just Ignore, ignore, ignore. Beautifully, he says in chapter 2, verse number 14. Agamapayino nityaha tam titikshasva bharata. What are you crying about? He says, let us analyze the world, he says. In that chapter 2, he says, let us analyze the world and let us analyze the self. That's all knowledge. Atma, Anatma, Vichara. What is you, the world? What is God, Brahman, the self? Let us discuss these two. Of the two, what you should discuss first? Can't discuss Atma first. First, you have to discuss the Anatma, the you, the little self. What is this little self? You, Agamapayinaha, Anityaha. Agamapayinaha means they come and go. Anityaha means even as you are experiencing it, isn't there. Agamapayinaha, Anityaha. Now, what do you do in situations that is not conforming to your raga and dvesha? General method that people do, which is the wrong method. Generally, there are three methods only people do. Whenever you are faced a situation, first is you try to find a solution. One is called a solution method. First, you try to find a solution. What is the solution? Whatever be the solution. You have a rat problem. What is the solution to the rat problem? Cat. That's all. Problem is sorted out. Where is the difficulty? Isn't it? So, what do? You bring in you are faced with a situation, you are faced with a problem, and you try to solve the problem, and you bring a solution. So far, so good. No problems. But where comes the actual difficulty? Where comes actual difficulty? The solution that you bring becomes another problem. You have a problem, you bring in a solution, no doubt it solves that, but the very solution itself brings in another problem. So, solution method doesn't actually help. That doesn't help. In the long run, it doesn't help. It may appear as though it is sorted out, but in the true sense of the term, it doesn't actually sort out anything. Second method, if somebody is irritating, agitating you so much, second method is what? Vent it out. Vent it out. See, normally in life, you'll be very scared of venting it out because you vent it out instantly you'll get a retaliation. Social media became so popular because you can vent it out and switch off. You know that, no? You can write whatever you want in that, and whether it is true or false, who cares? Who cares whether it is true? Who cares whether it is false? Who cares whether it is right, it is wrong? Simply forward, that's all. Shankar. Yeah, simply forward, that's all. What else is there? Vent it out. Second method. But it's a very costly method. Why? Because it comes back and what is the third method? Solution method doesn't work. Venting it out doesn't work. Third method, you suppress it within yourself. The third method is suppression. You suppress it within yourself. These are the three standard methods that people know how to deal with an emotional disturbance situation. Or fourth method, Vedanta brings it. What is the fourth method? Learn to ignore. Learn to ignore. But our training is not, because our training says if you ignore, it will become greater problem. Yeah. Stitch in time saves 9. Therefore, you have to pay Attention. You pay so much of attention that it has become 99 now. From 99, it becomes 999. Ramtirtha says 99 club. All solving the problems result in 99 club. Therefore, emotion at the level of emotional disturbance itself, how you can avoid it? By ignoring it. Ignoring it means what? Ignoring it means it is there, but I refuse to carry it in my mind any further. It is there, but I refuse to carry it in my mind any further. Isn't it? How many examples you have given for that? When somebody abused Buddha in the evening in the satsang, they asked him, why you didn't retaliate? Why you didn't retaliate? He said, in the first village I went, they gave me fruits. What I did with the fruits? When you go and give a wise man a fruit, something you give, what will that person do? Accept it and distribute it as prasad to all those who have come. Will not put it in his pocket. He instantly gets distributed as to everybody as prasad. In the first village, they gave me fruits, I gave it back to them. In the second village, they gave me abuses, that also I distributed it. Meaning, I don't carry it in my head anything. I don't carry it in my. How many examples we have? So, first thing is what? Learn not to carry it in your. But you will carry. Why you will carry? Because you are the most important person in life, and how can it happen to me? How can it happen to me? How can it happen to me? Isn't it? How can it happen to me? Yes. This is how. How can it happen to me? How can you keep on? You mentally you you mentally hold on to it. By you mentally holding on to it, you are intensifying it. The moment it is intensified, what happens? You will definitely you need some kind of an addiction to get out of it. Something you have to get addicted to temporarily get out of it. Otherwise, the mind is not. Otherwise, the mind is not stopping. Are you able to follow? These are the three stages. These are the three stages for which I used three words. Words are used interchangeably because what word I use in one class, I forget in the next class. So I keep liberally interchanging with the words. But concept is this. What is it? Situations that doesn't cater to your raga dvesha starts with disturbance. You continue to do, you continue to feed it. You continue to feed it. How do you feed it? By three methods you feed. Either you feed it in the form of seeking a solution, or in the form of venting it out, or in the form of suppressing it. Are you able to follow? These three methods is the standard methods which doesn't work at all. Or it works temporarily, but it comes back with greater intensity. Greater force, greater intensity. And then what happens? It becomes so intense that you will not know how to switch off. Like people come and ask, how to switch off, sir? You also think if there's a switch where we can put it off, how good it will be? Yes, there is the switch. It's a training. That switch becomes strong by training. What is the training? What is the training? Ignore. Ignore. Emotional disturbances has to be ignored. Why? Because disturbance is because of situations not conforming to your raga and dvesha. You follow? But sir, I get agitated only for a righteous cause, sir. I get agitated, disturbed only for a, all my WhatsApp forwards are only for dharmic, righteous, Lord Rama causes only, sir. To that person, don't talk anything. Why? Because it is so, there is no distinction between Raga, Dvesha and Dharma. When, when you don't know how to ignore and develop this penetrating capacity, then only you can know the difference between what is Raga, Dvesha and what is Dharma. Today, Dharma and Raga, Dvesha are so intermixed that your Raga, Dvesha looks like Dharma righteous to you. Righteous to you. What is this righteous? What is this Dharma? Your Raga, Dvesha appears like Dharma to you. Somebody coming with a different thing, it appears other make, isn't it? It appears other make. Uh, 15 years, sir, I was not having any problem with my partner. Now that I want to study Vedanta, my partner is not accepting. What do I do? Person is asking last week. You can't go and ask that person who's that partner. Huh? And the person is saying partner, you are supposed to understand. புரியுதா? Huh? You understand, no? Ram Subramanian, புரியுதா? What do you understand? Spouse. Huh? Spouse. Spouse தான். Only difference is we don't know who is male, who is female in that அவ்வளவுதான். Spouse only. Yeah, who's male, who's female only, we don't know. So he's saying, what do I, what do I do? What do you do? Another person. How can these kind of people and all study Vedanta? Are you able to understand the situation now? Another person is asking, how can this kind of, then who should study Vedanta? Ramatirtha and Vasishta and Vishwamitra. Ragadvesha. Our Ragadvesha influences everything. They're coming and I was talking to that person and trying to explain, etc. It's okay. This is how it will be everywhere. Keep studying. Yeah, the difficulty in life is to do harm. You don't have to do anything. It will happen by itself. If you really have to do something right, you have to stand upside down. Even then, right thing doesn't happen, isn't it? How much ever you talk, how much ever you understand, things simply doesn't get understood. Now who should study Vedanta? Now that person is deciding, the adhikari. I turn back and say, first of all, are you qualified for you to decide? Because that person's raga dvesha is getting covered up as dharma now. That people and all, first they should become normal human beings, sir. He's saying first they should become normal human beings and then only they should study Vedanta. He said, no, don't put the cart before the horse. Abnormal people da Vedanta. After studying Vedanta only you'll become normal. Aparna, purida? After studying Vedanta only you can become normal. Only abnormal only has to study. If you are normal, why do you need this study? Person couldn't understand. He got so upset. And left the table. What do you do? Raga Dvesha gets so colored as dharma, etc. So before you worry about fighting for the righteous cause and all that, see, is your Raga Dvesha under control? Is your Raga Dvesha under control? If your Raga Dvesha is not under your control, first thing you have to do is what? manage that, bring that under your control, and then worry about all these. These are the important things in relation to raga and dvesha, as in disturbance, dependency, and slavery. Slavery means an addiction. Unless you are addicted to something, your mind cannot get out of it. Unless addiction. And everybody has their own addictions, isn't it? Korean serial, and you can have your own addictions, isn't it? Somebody will watch Indian serial, somebody will watch Hindi, somebody will watch Korean. Drama is the same. Insanity is the same. Language difference. Addiction. Some addiction helps a person to. Are you able to follow? These are the ragadvesha. Then we moved on to worry and anxiety. What is this worry and anxiety? Recap. Because when I walked in, I got scoldings. Ganesh scolded me. So I'm doing the recap now. Ganesh. First scolding. ரொம்ப லீவ் போடுறேன் நீங்க. Mesaji. Scolding is, I'm taking too many holidays. Too many holidays I'm taking. First scolding he gave. I don't know what to do. Then I asked coffee, Yeah. No. Kala has to come. Then I kept quiet. I said, at least hot water. Hot water. I got hot water. Second scolding. First scolding. Second thing you said? Something you said. I forgot. Because I have learned to ignore that. No. 2-3 things he said. 6:45, I saw Kala walking and I had a relief. Wow, thank God. Something I'll get. Worry and anxiety. Recap. Why the recap? Ragadvesha, worry and anxiety. What is worry? Worry is nothing but guilt about the past. That's all. Worry is nothing but why did it happen? It should not have. I don't know why I did that. I don't know why I did. It is such a whipping thing about your own past. And distinct and different from that is anxiety. Worries of the past and anxieties for the future. So mind wreaks havoc. Mind wreaks havoc in the sense of ragadvesha. Mind wreaks havoc in the sense of worries and anxieties. Yes. No, you didn't have anything, no? I thought you raised your hand. The third one, desires. The third one is desires. Yeah, please read desires.
Desires. The mind filled with desires causes agitation, suffering, and sorrow. You need to develop your intellect and use it to control, regulate, and gradually annihilate the desires. Desire is a barrier between a human being and God. That explains why religions have personified desires as the devil. Christianity personifies desire as Satan, Islam as Shaitan, Buddhism as Mara, Hinduism as Asura. You have to cross these barriers to reach the ultimate state of spiritual enlightenment. An uncontrolled mind produces endless desires. The mind is like fire. You may feed fire with logs and logs of wood. It consumes them all and is ready for more. So is your mind insatiable, replete with desires. All the stress that humans suffer from is but mental agitation caused by unfulfilled desires. Desire is defined as a stream of thoughts flowing from you to the object of your desire. Desires go through several modifications. When you feed the desire and the thought flow thickens, you develop greed, avarice. And when your desire, greed, is fulfilled and you gain what you want, you are faced with fear. You become afraid of losing what you have gained. If, however, your desire thought flow is intercepted by an object or being, the thought flow gets deflected. The deflected thought current is called anger. Consider, for example, Tom loves Elizabeth. His thoughts flow towards Elizabeth. Another suitor, John, also loves her. He intercepts Tom's thought flow. Tom develops anger towards John. Anger, therefore, is a modification of desire. It can never arise unless there is an underlying desire. To overcome anger, you need to control the desire creating it. As desire, greed, and anger well up, you get into delusion. Your emotions mounting up to this stage develops into arrogance at those below your level of achievement and envy at those above your level. Thus, a host of emotions invades your personality. Desires, beside developing into their modification, also multiplies in numbers like bacteria. They cause agitation and sorrow in the mind. All through life, the human mind moves from desire to desire, trying to find fulfillment. No sooner a desire is satisfied, many others spring forth. Thus, you become bound, burdened with innumerable desires. You will have, therefore, to use the intellect constantly to control, guide your desires and their modifications. If you fail to do so and leave them ungoverned, they could cause you grief, misery, and even prove fatal.
How? Desires. All the stress that humans suffer is because of unfulfilled desire. Can there be a thing called fulfilled desire? For desire means unfulfillment. Desire itself means unfulfillment. For there can never be a thing called fulfilled desire. It can never get fulfilled. Desires goes through modifications and multiplication. So two things, modification and multiplication. We'll discuss both separately. First, we will discuss desire. Then we discuss desire in two. One is the multiplication, another is the modification. For modification, reference verses 62, 63 of chapter 2. That's what this paragraph is talking about. This whole paragraph is talking about the verses 62 and 63 of chapter 2. ध्यायतो विषयान् पुंसः सङ्गस्तेषूपजायते सङ्गात् सञ्जायते कामः कामात् क्रोधो विजायते क्रोधात् भवति सम्मोहः सम्मोहात् स्मृतिविभ्रमः स्मृतिभ्रंशात् बुद्धिनाशः बुद्धिनाशात् प्रणश्यति. This is the modification part. Elsewhere, he will talk about the multiplication part. First, What is desire? Desire is nothing but the agitated mind seeking fulfillment. There is the disturbance. That disturbance needs to be, there is a disturbance, and the disturbance has to be quietened, quenched. That disturbance has to be eliminated. So, desire is the method by which the unfulfilled mind seeks fulfillment. How does it happen? Through the medium of thought. Through the medium of the thought. Stream of thought, flow of thought. That's all. So desire. So desire is nothing but a flow of thought. Flow of thought towards something. A uncontrolled flow of thought towards some object or being or few objects and few beings is called desire. So what is the desire? Thought flow. It's not just the thought flow, it is the ungoverned, uncontrolled, irrational thought flow. So what is desire? Ungoverned, uncontrolled, irrational thought flow from you towards some objects or beings is known as a desire. The root of it is what? Unfulfillment. So there is an unfulfillment, and desire becomes a medium, a tool, a method by which you seek fulfillment. And you get that object or being. The moment the desire springs up, carefully follow. We are talking about the modifications. The moment the desire springs up, three possibilities it comes with. Fulfilled, unfulfilled, interrupted. Again, the moment desire springs up, what are the possibility? The first possibility is unfulfilled. It can remain unfulfilled. When it remains unfulfilled, we know straight away there is an agitation, confusion, etc. Buddhinashat pranashyati. And the person would do anything to get that desired object. That's why it's called that karma comes with a vega, the momentum. It comes with a very deep, greater force. So the moment desire has come into you, three possibilities come. What are the possibilities? Unfulfilled. Okay, unfulfilled, what happens? Moha, delusion. Out of that moha, delusion, you will do that which you shouldn't be doing. Delusion means what? You will do that which you shouldn't be doing, and you do it. Why? Because that's the power of the desires. It drives you to do it. Unfulfilled, delusion, destruction. If fulfilled, what happens? Happiness. Desire unfulfilled, unhappiness. If desire fulfilled, happiness. Immediate modifications. What are the immediate modifications? Lobha, Mada, Matsarya, Bhaya. Instantly. The moment desire is fulfilled, instantly, isn't it? Bhaya comes, isn't it? Fear comes. You don't have anything, you don't need CCTV camera, isn't it? The moment you have something, immediately what happens? Fear comes. You got it. Along with it, the fear. What is the fear? The fear of losing it. So, in order to overcome the fear, again, moha, delusion. So, what happens? What happens when the desire gets fulfilled? Greed. Greed for more. What is greed? Wanting more and more and more, isn't it? It's not wanting more and more and more. From the same thing, you want more and more and more happiness. That is greed. From the same object, from the same being, you want more and more and more happiness. So, what is more that you want? Don't think as though you want it in numbers. It's not the numbers. Actually, what you want is more. If 1,000 rupees has given you X amount of joy, you want 10,000 rupees. So, from wealth, you want more happiness. So, if 10,000 rupees has given you X amount of joy, you want 100 million, you want 1 million now. If 1 million has given you, so what now? What is greed now? It's not from 100 to 1,000 to 10,000 to million. That is not greed. What is greed? If it has given you some amount of joy, you want to squeeze, it for more and more and more. That is called greed. Are you able to follow? Don't take greed as numbers. Greed means wanting more and more joy from that which has given you previously. It has given you some joy. Greed comes only from this angle. Again, I repeat, greed comes only from this angle. What is that angle? First, it should have given you some joy. Supposing it didn't give you any joy at all, will you be greedy towards that? So, what will you be greedy towards? First, it should have given you some joy. Having tasted some joy, what happens now? You want the same object or the same person to give more and more and more. Somewhere the other is fatigued, but your demand doesn't decrease. It goes on increasing. The other person is saying, stop squeezing me, stop suffocating me, leave me alone, and they run away. Are you able to follow? Greed. So, what is greed? Wanting more happiness from something that gave you some happiness. Vijay, Purida. First, it should have given you some happiness. Then only you can get greedy. So, more and more and more you want. Greed. That's greed. Another modification is what? From greed to not naturally. It doesn't see everything greed to moha, destruction. Every modification connected to moha, destruction, moha, destruction. It doesn't have to go through sequentially like that. Unfulfilled, moha, destruction. Desire fulfilled, bhaya, destruction. Fear. Fear is also destructive, no? Isn't it? Constant the fear of losing it. Constant fear of losing it. Another fear, moha, destruction. And then greed, moha, destruction. Another modification, mother, arrogance. Arrogance. And what is this arrogance? Observe yourself, you will know what arrogance is. When you go to somebody asking for a favor, what is the mask you wear? When somebody comes to you asking for a favor, what is the mask you wear? That shows the difference. Again, I repeat. When you go to somebody asking for a favor, the mask. What is the mask? Different mask. The moment somebody comes to you asking for a favor, the arrogance. Because you are in a higher position. Not realizing, not really. What is moha? Not realizing. Very soon it will be reversed. Yeah. Very soon it can get reversed. Hmm? You may not be begging at this person, but you'll go and beg at another person. What are the differences, isn't it? Only difference is what? You may not fall at the feet of this person, but you will go and fall at the feet of somebody else. Arrogance. Moha, destruction. So, Lobha, Mada, Matsarya, Bhaya. All this can cause delusion, destruction. Intercepted, interrupted. What is interruption? That is where the violence in human being is because of the desires. You get violent when your desires are intercepted. That violence is called anger. Again, that violence in you is called anger. And why do we call it as violence? Because it quenches after you destroy something. Have you ever observed anger subsides after you destroy something, after you break something, isn't it? Either they'll bang the door, fling the phone, the plate will fly, remote will. What else to do? Remote will break. If nothing is there, you go and bang your head against the wall. But nevertheless, anger subsides. The violence nature, you get violent when you have a desire and when the desire is intercepted. Again, anger leads to destruction. Moha, delusion. Moha, delusion. Meaning, you say things that you should not say, you do things that you should not, you say things that you should not say, you do things that you should not do, and then regret, and then regret. Next morning, get up and do the same thing. Next morning, the fellow will get up and continue to do the same thing. Yeah. All our vairagya is like the New Year resolution, Madhuri, isn't it? All our vairagya is the New Year resolutions. Every New Year, they will take a resolution, isn't it? What is the resolution? Same. What else can you do? New, isn't it? Same thing, isn't it? I will live a healthy lifestyle this year. How many times we have resolved like that? How many times I resolve not to get angry and you get angry? You become a helpless victim of your desire. You become a victim of your desire. And all these modifications causes destruction. Distinct and different from modification is multiplication. So the second important aspect of desire is it goes on multiplying. It goes on multiplying. Multiplication means what? You go on adding. You go on adding. You go on new desire, isn't it? Sir, if desires, fulfillment of desires and all is not there, then how can you get happiness in life? How to be happy in life? How to be cheerful in life? Isn't it? If you want to be happy and cheerful in life, there is only one method. There's only one method. Tena tyaktena bhunjitam. Isavasya Upanishad. If at all you want to be happy, there's only one method to be happy. There's only one method. What is that method? Tena tyaktena bhunjitam. Tyaktena, tena means all of you. All of you get to this state of happiness by giving up. Giving up. What do you give up? Give up your desires. What do you give up? Give up your desires. And how do you give up your desires? Knowledge alone can help. It is knowledge alone that can help you to overcome the desires. How does knowledge help you to overcome the desires? It tells you that your unfulfillment is imaginary. How does knowledge help you to overcome the desires? Knowledge doesn't help you to overcome desire by getting you desired objects and beings, because that is not the method. Then what is the method that knowledge takes? Knowledge takes the method of telling you that the very desire is there because of a unfulfillment. It tries to drum it in again and again and again. The unfulfillment is imaginary. Unfulfillment is imaginary. In relation to the mind, see, even at least the senses get temporary satiation. You know that, no? The senses don't demand and keep you in that state of unfulfillment like the mind does, like the desires does. Senses. You are hungry, you eat. It is, at least there is a period of rest. Senses give you the period of rest. What doesn't give you rest at all? Are you able to follow the difference? What doesn't give you any rest at all? Desires. So, Vedanta comes and says, and why the mind doesn't get that rest at all? Because it is constantly in the state of unfulfillment. When it is constantly in the state of unfulfillment, when it is constantly trying to find fulfillment, it is deep down convinced what I am unfulfilled. In the language of, again, in the language of Isavasya Upanishad, again, from apurnam to purnam. I am unfulfilled. I should get fulfilled. I am unfulfilled. I should get fulfilled. You can hear it a million times, but still you will be convinced what? You are unfulfilled. You can hear it a million times. Million times it can be. Still you will. Why? Because if you actually accept this, you will look so childish. You will look like real. That's why Bhagavad Gita, he says, Balaha, children. Mudaha, fools. Children are fools. Fools. Very difficult to accept your foolishness. What is the foolishness? If fulfillment is the truth, I should feel it now. No, sir. Why I am not feeling it? Because you don't have the knowledge. Hearing it is not knowledge, isn't it? Hearing it is somebody else's knowledge. Somebody else is telling you Purnam. In your head, you are still Apurnam only. From Apurnam, I should become Purnam. From Apurnam, I should become Purnam. So what I should do? If I get A, B, C, D and avoid X, Y, Z, I will get into Purnatvam Kinnavali, Ram Subramaniam. Get ABC. So you have a list of what you want, and you also have a list of what you don't want. As an ignorance. That's the next topic. One of the beautiful in this whole book. I like the statement. You know not what you want. You know not what you want. Next week only we are going to do that, not today. We are only preparing it. You're able to follow. If you are already Purnam, why I don't know it? Because you don't have the knowledge. If you have the knowledge, you will not do it. The very fact that you are doing it means you don't have the knowledge. But I have been hearing it for so long. Borrowed knowledge, the mind will convince you that it is yours. Borrowed knowledge, it will convince you that it is yours. And now the research about plagiarism, they say. You should not say, because at some point of time, the borrowed knowledge will appear as though it's your knowledge. You know it. You still don't know it. Why? Because in your core, you are still convinced that from Apurnam to Purnam. What is Vedanta? It is not from Apurnam to Purnam. It is understanding there is no Apurnam. It is understanding that there is no Apurnatvam at all, isn't there? If it is there, I should know it by now. No. If it is there, I should know it by now. No. Vedanta says that is the tragedy of the whole thing. That's the tragedy. What is the tragedy? You are that now and you don't know it. Like the person having the wealth and not knowing that you have it. It happens, no? The Shastra gives the example of Swakanta Bharanavat. Swakanta Bharanavat means the lady looking for the lost necklace. She's searching for it everywhere. Everywhere she's searching for it. And then the husband comes and says, okay, then what is it here? She didn't get it. It was there already, but she just didn't know it. So unfulfillment is like that. Fulfilled you are already, and you just don't know it. Another example, one of the Upanishad gives an elaborate story. That elaborate story is what is described in the last chapter of Vedanta treatise. Upanishad gives a very elaborate story. The elaborate story of the prince getting washed away in the floods. There is a deluge in the city, the country. The whole palace is inundated. The king, after the Ellam Porathu Abrama, when he's saying, boat vechin vaangon, he's saying. He's saying, come with the boat to the class and go, he's saying. Yes, Aji, I'm saying my house is drowning. He's saying, come in boat, not to the class. Water got inundated. The whole thing got inundated, filled up. After the whole thing drained out, they saw the king is found dead. The queen is found dead. The child is missing. So they are searching. They have only one indication, the birthmark. And finally they found, after 16 years of search, they found a boy in the nearby town begging on the streets with that birthmark. And they found out and they recognized this person is the king, and he was brought back. It's not that he acquired the kingdom. He was the king. What is the difference? He didn't know. He didn't know. That's why it's called lack of knowledge, ignorance. You didn't know. Not only you don't understand, you don't know, you actually think you know. Actually, you think you know. What is it that you think you know? You have a list of what I want and what I don't want. Yeah. Chicago, where? Ah, Chicago, no? Chicago, Chicago. What I want is because their daughter is in Chicago. Yeah, so very clearly known what is want and what is. You have a very clear list of what you want, and you have a very clear list of what you, and you pursue that list. And what is that? What is the consequence of you pursuing that list? Grief, misery, fatal. You have a list, you think this is the list, and you pursue that list, and the end result of that pursuit is grief, misery, getting. This is the desires. The mind wreaks havoc through raga dvesha, next in the slides, through worries and anxieties, and the third thing is through desires. Springs from a very deep, convinced notion that you have about yourself. What? I can't be happy without this. You are very convinced. What is it that you are so convinced? Without this, I can't be happy. Again, you are convinced. With this also, I can't be happy, isn't it? You have a list, very clear list. Without this, I can't be happy. With this also, you can't be happy. Tragedy is what? What you thought of one point of time, it gives you so much of happiness, is the same thing that gives you misery at another point. And you are so convinced about what? There's nothing wrong with you. Yeah. You are so convinced. In both the cases, you will be very clearly convinced what? There is nothing that's wrong with you. At one point of time, I know, ready to do anything to get this person. Another point in time, ready to do anything to get rid of the person. In both the stages, the person will not look back and say, how is it that I was so convinced about the opposites? It's not two different persons, same person, isn't it? How is it? Because you think you know, because you think you know what you want. Actually, the reality is you know not what you want. You know not what you want. You know not. At any point of time, you will say, I know only this one thing, sir. Only this one thing. From Taittiriya Upanishad, we will read the bachelor boy story also next week. Again, another Upanishadic story that is. We'll read all that. What is desire? A wrong notion, a foolish notion, an ignorant notion. What is that foolish, ignorant notion? Without this, I can't be happy. Unless I get rid of this, I can't be happy. So you have to acquire something and you have to get rid of something. So for you to be happy, what is it? Something you have to have, something you have to get rid of. At one point of time, you will do anything to keep the body. At another point in time, you will be ready to do anything to get rid of the body. You know not what. We'll continue next.